The 1960s counterculture movement was a time of political opposition and free spirits. The New Left, along with the free speech movement, are examples of this monumental movement. In accordance with the counterculture, many protests broke out on college campuses due to the Vietnam War and the opposition amongst the youth in America. For example, the University of California, Berkeley protests. These protests were a part of three social movements: the Civil Rights Movement, the Free Speech Movement, and the Vietnam War protests. The Stonewall riots occurred in June of 1969 in the Greenwich Village neighborhood of Manhattan, New York, at the Stonewall Inn. This riot led to the gay liberation movement and the modern fight for LGBT rights in the United States. Another protest that sparked public outrage in the United States was the Kent State riot. This riot was held due to opposition of the Vietnam War and the invasion of Cambodia that occurred only the day before. National Guards opened fire, killing 4 and injuring 9. Protests against the Vietnam War were prominent, and Stop the Draft Week showcased it. From burning of draft cards to sit-ins, the week occurred in Oakland, California in December of 1967. The hippies of San Francisco took part in the Summer of Love in 1967, which was set in the Haight-Ashbury neighborhood, the longtime hub for hippies. Also, the Woodstock Music and Art Fair lasted from August 15th through the 18th in the summer of 1969. Though it only lasted 3 days, on the 4th day, Jimi Hendrix performed, closing out the festival. Although Woodstock would never happen again, it became an ideal event for members of the growing counterculture all over the United States. At the end of the 1960s, many social and political movements were active, including the Civil Rights Movement, the anti-Vietnam War movements, and the counterculture of the 1960s.
Every day just feels like a war. And I walk around so mad at the world, but I'm really just fighting with myself. I don't want to fight anymore. I'm just too tired.
Like a small boat
I have to just be me.
on the ocean, sending
The Stonewall riot occurred June 28, 1969, in New York City, when New York City police raided the Stonewall Inn, a gay club located in Greenwich Village in New York City. The raid sparked a riot among bar patrons and neighborhood residents as police roughly hauled employees and patrons out of the bar, leading to 6 days of protests and violent clashes with law enforcement outside the bar on Christopher Street and neighboring streets and the nearby Christopher Park. The Stonewall riot served as the catalyst for the gay rights movement in the United States and around the world. Though the Stonewall Uprising didn't start the gay rights movement, it was a galvanizing force for LGBT political activism, leading to numerous gay rights organizations, including the Gay Liberation Front, Human Rights Campaign, GLAAD, formerly Gay and Lesbian Alliance Against Defamation, and PFLAG, formerly Parents, Families, and Friends of Lesbians and Gays.
To the drama, only attracted to things that'll bring the trauma. Overseas, yeah, we trying to stop terrorism, but we still got terrorists here living in the USA, the big CIA, the Bloods and the Crips and the KKK. But if you only have love for your own race, then you only leave space to discriminate, and to discriminate only generates hate. And when you hate, then you're
A monumental anti-war riot was the Kent State Massacre, which involved 4 students who were killed and 9 who were injured that attended Kent State in Ohio in 1970. This event occurred a day after the invasion of Cambodia, when members of the Ohio National Guard opened fire while the students were protesting the Vietnam War and the invasion of Cambodia. This tragic event sparked 4 million students all over the country to protest as well. It is believed that this event swayed the public's opinion against the war, and very likely contributed to the downfall of President Richard Nixon.
War dead in Ohio. 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 How many more? War dead in Ohio. Why? War dead in Ohio. War dead in Ohio. War dead in Ohio. Why? War dead in Ohio.
student occupation of Spruill Hall at the University of California, Berkeley on December 2, 1964, was the largest demonstration organized by the free speech movement. The occupation was in response to the proposed expulsion of Jack Weinberg and other members of the free speech movement, and other student political groups for their involvement in the recent protests on the Berkeley campus, as well as for the university's refusal to drop charges against student political group leaders. The plan was to occupy the hall for a single night. However, the protesters were prepared for a 2 to 3 day demonstration and siege of Spruill Hall. 1,500 students occupied Spruill Hall before being removed by police. In all, 773 student activists were arrested for their involvement in this event.
Hello, darkness, my old friend. I've come to talk with you again, because a vision softly creeping left its seeds while I was sleeping, and the vision that was planted in my brain still remains within the sound of silence.